everybody, and welcome to our final set review video for Born of the Gods. Can you believe it?
It's almost done.
Oh my God. This is the green review. I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
All day.
All day, every day.
You saw what I did there. And we're going to talk about some Magic cards. We're going to kick it off with Archetype of Endurance. That boar, you know, he sticks around.
He does stick around, except maybe your life total didn't by the time you got to him.
No, it's 8 mana.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a ton. That's just, it's kind of out of the realm of reasonableness. Now, that doesn't mean it's unplayable and limited. I've seen some people battle with that huge 8 mana, 10/10 crazy statue guy, like, you know, has gotten
Isn't he 10 mana or is he 8? No, he's 10 to monstrous.
Yes, he's 10 to monstrous. And people have monstrous them and kill people or whatever. And that's great. So I'm not saying that this is impossible. It's just not really going to happen a lot of the time.
No.
It's just going to be in your hand when you die.
Yes, and once it comes to play, like, who still has removal to target things?
And who doesn't play that removal in response to your 8 mana spell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the pieces don't really come together on that one. So again, that's when you go like, all right, maybe it's just a casual card. And you know, people in Commander games, they like their stuff to be their stuff and their creatures to be left alone. And don't go attacking my creatures and target them with your stuff. I get that. That's fine. But any other format, it's just going to fall flat.
It would feel very good just once to be able to shack a Geist of Saintshaft. I would love to do that.
Just once. You could do that with the mirror, right?
I mean, I could.
Remember that crazy mirror that said you could target them
yeah,
like
but
they didn't have
still
Hexproof?
bad.
That card was terrible, but it was cute. Aspect of Hydra, yeah.
This is a good.
Plus big numbers,
devotion,
big numbers, y'all.
Yeah, I like it because it only costs 1 mana and it's a good finisher. It's just like, you get enough devotion, you attack with everything, and you get to do this and you kill them. Granted, it's not going to help you in the early game, which is kind of where it sucks, but
okay.
It's okay. It's fine.
I still think it's a really, really good limited trick. You know, whether it just kills them outright, it's, you know, you're trading their best guy for your 1 mana spell. Like, these are real trades that happen. This card is super powerful. I like it a lot. Charging Badger.
All right, bring it.
Honey Badger. Honey Badger don't care. He don't care.
Let's get it out of your system.
What does the Badger say? Trample.
No, you do not mess with my fox.
Oh, I did.
You don't mess with my fox.
There ain't no Vulpine, whatever the thing was called in this set.
In this block there is.
And it blocked
And he devours this guy.
No.
I bet Honey Badger will care when that fox shows up.
Uh-oh. What's he going to say then?
Explicit.
He's gonna take it to the streets.
He's gonna run. He's gonna care.
Yeah,
he's gonna run away.
Oh, nice. Thank you. He's a 1/1 trampler. For 1.
Unplayable. Do not play this.
Don't do it.
At all.
It exists, so others look better. Now, play this.
Yes.
Courser Crewfix. Constructed playable. One of the best cards in the whole set. This card is terrific.
Yeah, I just have to find the home for it. I've been trying in this blue-green devotion deck that I will talk more about when we get to the actual card that makes the deck, in my opinion.
Sure.
But I do like this card. The only downside in Constructed, in my opinion, is letting them see the top card of your library, because some decks really care. Well, games of Magic don't last that long.
Right, but I mean, this guy, he has amazing synergy with Domer Rod. Like, he's just terrific in and of himself that he can play extra lands. You can have sort of a pseudo.
You don't get to play extra lands.
Well, not extra, I'm sorry. You can have a pseudo extra card is what I meant.
Yeah.
You can play with extra cards, more or less, where the extra card is the card on top of your library. If it's a land, you kind of get that one for free. You get to know what's coming up. You can plan around it. Your opponent can plan around it, which is kind of the backside of those things. But, you know, again, I think there's a lot of synergy with this. I think the numbers are right. I think the mana cost is good. You know, there's a lot to go for this, and you just randomly gain value from playing lands.
Yeah, see, this is like some of the cards in the set, I'm just kind of like, what? It felt so forced. Yet this one, like all the numbers, this is where I'm like, Wizards knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like everything about this card, I'm just like, 2/4 seems right. The 1 life seems right. And
2 green and a colorless, you know, specifically.
Because it helps with devotion. And yeah, so I really like this card. I want to play with it. I'm going to find the home for it. I just don't know exactly which home it is yet, but I will figure it out. I promise you. This is a Brad Nelson card.
This is, and I'd say it's one of those where, you know, I have a feeling that no matter whether it's yourself or someone else or whatever, someone's going to figure out the right way to use this guy. He's going to be a force. He's going to be a card that you need to care about, and he's going to be a card that you're happy to open and play in almost every format. I mean, you know, he's great in limited. He's going to be good in constructed. He's going to be fine in all the casual formats. He's a good man.
Yep.
Culling Mark. That's a cool name. I like the name of the spell a lot.
Yeah, it is, and
block. That's cool.
I do think it's cool. I don't think it's that playable.
I mean, you know, this is sort of the greens It's a removal spell that isn't fighting, which is sort of what Green's been doing these days. You know, it is.
But it's way worse than fighting.
It is way where, you know, like the guy has to be untapped. He has to be able to block whatever it is that was able to kill it. I mean, that may actually be a thing. You know, when you got like a huge flyer and they got like some ground pounder you want to kill, this doesn't help that. Like, that's a weird position to be in, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I want this flyer to kill this non-flyer, and I literally can't.
Yeah, with my removal spell, or like I have it in my deck as a removal spell.
Right.
So like I really don't like this card. I don't see it seeing any play in limited, and I wouldn't play it unless you have to board it in, but there's no guild mages anymore. Like guild mages are the prime cards, and I'm like, those are the cards I want to kill, but they don't exist in this format. Like, so.
Sure. I mean, you know, again, it's hard that everyone's building, you know, these Voltron-esque things, and so when you kill the one thing, it's just going, or when the one thing has to block and die, it just kind of turns into more guys. You know, like this isn't always a positive trade for you, and it has to be something that wasn't attacking you the turn before. It's a terrible top deck late because of that very reason. You know, there's a lot that's not going for this card to the point where it's not really playable.
The art is sweet though,
and the name is nice. Fated Intervention. Did
So
this get there?
a lot of people think so. I don't
real close.
think so.
Real close.
I just don't. Like the first thing I see is triple green. I'm like devotion, and then it's tokens.
Nope, it's tokens.
Yeah, so like I think it's cool, but for 5 mana, it doesn't seem exactly like what I want to be doing. Like, yes, it's good against wrath effects. Let's just forget that Fated Intervention exists.
Sure.
It's good against Supreme Verdict and other mass removal effects, but at the same time, I like my Mistcoater Hydras, I like my Stormbreath Dregs, I like my Rorik Thars and my Hammer Gardens. I'm not really looking for a card like this in any matchup. It's just not where it's at.
I like Advent of the Worm way more.
Yeah, Advent's infinitely better.
It's just infinitely, you know, it's cheaper. It's, you know, it's different, you know, mana cost intensity between the two colors instead of just the one color. This really feels like the spell that says, if it's your turn, what are you doing? Like, why in the world would you run this out on your turn? Scry 2 can't possibly be that good versus being able to have 2 3/3s at the end of their turn, 2 3/3s when they attack in.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to be a good rare and limited because it's 2 creatures out of nowhere. But, you know, the mana cost is tough, and to get beyond limited and to get beyond sort of the kitchen table type stuff is going to be real hard for this one.
I agree.
It's a cool card, though. Grave Robber Spider. This spider is sick.
Yeah.
This is a giant
interesting,
spider plus value plus value. Wow.
Yeah, I do like this card. The later the game goes, the just more crucial this card is. Early game, you get to have your cake because you just want this guy to block some flyers and just hold the ground. And then once you've gained control of the game, you eat your cake by like just attacking with this huge like 6/8 creature.
You just all their little chump blockers because that's what they're going to be doing to this guy because he's going to be ridiculously massive, or they're not going to be able to attack into him with their crazy huge flyers because this guy is crazy huge. You know, like, oh, I got a 4/6 flyer that triggers, you know, when you attack and get an enchantment back and all that stuff. It's like, not when this guy's on the table. Yeah, he's just going to die.
He ends up gaining control of the game all by himself and then being your finisher. So like it's a very good limited effect for a green-black deck.
Yep, super high pick and limited. You're going to love this guy. I can't wait to play with him.
Yep.
Hero of Lena Tower.
All right.
Okay, look. That art. A little weird.
I don't get it. Why?
I don't get it. It's a girl who's just standing there.
Yeah, because this is back, you know, like...
Well, and also, like, she's kind of, like, doing this weird hip thing.
She had to update her blog. I say blog because I'm too old to know what the other programs like Instagram.
No, Tumblr.
Tumblr, yeah. She had to update her Tumblr. She just killed her first beast.
And she's taking
her
like,
dad is really happy and taking a picture of her.
You know, it looked really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a card that is too fragile for me for constructed.
Well, all I know is there will be...
Cool.
It might be an FNM.
Sure.
But I will, at one point in my life, target this and another creature with Bioshift, dump all my mana into it, and then exchange all the tokens I just got onto a different creature. That will happen.
Oh my
Bioshift is still legal.
Bioshift is still legal.
And that's like, that has to be like the best card with this card.
I mean, you know, you get aspect of Hydra or whatever, the green devotion pump spell on this girl. That's I sort of noted that in the show. I was like, you know, that card is amazing with this card. And, you know, you get those two in limited, like they are all-star super buddies.
Are you really trying to go over the top of my Bioshifting?
Oh, yeah.
Bioshifting.
I go over the top of everything. It's what I do.
Yeah, it is true. He is just such a one-upper. You should be around him when the cameras aren't on.
What? Even dancing.
I mean, every time we do a set review, we have to let we have to let our doors open just to let some of Evan's ego out.
Oh, I see how it is. That's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be. All right. Whatever.
All right.
Hero of Lana Tower. Fine card. Not constructed worthy, but you're probably going to have a lot of fun at FNM. You're also going to have a lot of fun with FNM and hexproof creatures.
Where's
and
the first time I saw this card? I can't remember.
Some crazy guy's spoiler. I don't know.
You're just gonna get a big old chunk of cards. Too many that you can do. I don't know what you said.
Exactly. You know, I mean, basically, I was explaining that it's not blue. That's
Yeah.
very important. And because it's not blue, that means it's not as good as a blue card because blue cards are just inherently better. It's not Tidings, even though you want it to be, even though it feels like it. There was a spell, I think it was in Morning Tide or Eventide. I think it's Majestic something. It's a green and 4 color sorcery. And what it said was draw cards equal to target creature's power. And I thought that card was like really good, you know. I was like, oh man, you play well whatever, and the next turn you just draw 5 cards off that guy for 5 mana, blah blah blah, super value. This is great. And then what Magic teaches you at that point is you go, yeah, well then your guy died. And I go, but that means I draw what? And it goes 0.
Fizzle.
You suck. And I'm like, oh. And so I don't want people to think that that this is a card that will hit the top tournament tables. But I do think that with Hexproof it's going to be fun, super cool, always awesome and casual. It's going to be a really great FNM card. This is a card that, you do want to play Hunter's Prowess on a Pelucranos and just get there.
Unbelievably broken and limited. Unbelievably broken.
This card
You both tap out, and then all of a sudden on turn 4 you attack with a 7/7 Trampler that draws you cards, and your opponent, even if he blocks it, you're going to draw like 3 cards.
Right. You're going
it's
to
gonna
trade for
be
the best guy, and you're going to draw a bunch
busted
of
and
cards.
limited.
Limited, super crazy, all-star, high five everybody.
Yeah.
Cool. Karametra's favor.
No. I mean, you do get to draw cards, so it is pretty good and limited. But this is not going to see standard play. People have talked about it. I don't think so.
Get out of here. Seriously?
Some people have said stuff, yeah. Seriously? I think it is good and limited because, if you play an early guy, I could see games where you actually want to play your Squire on turn 1, so you can play this, and then you can start playing 4s and 5s, and you get a draw out of it.
I mean, you get a draw out of it, and that's the good thing. That's always the good thing about all the other ones, too.
At that point, you're practically playing Sylvan Caryatid, right? You have cantripped, and you played a Sylvan Caryatid.
A little.
I think it's very similar.
It's similar-ish. What I would rather say is that this is one of the weaker of the draw spells. It doesn't give you evasion. For example, like the blue one did. And it also can't be had that sort of clever, you give them evasion, quote unquote.
Well, obviously we're going to play that Chromatomeron. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, Tromocratus.
Tromocratus,
y'all.
That is now my new goal. I want to cast that once.
Isn't that card sweet? The card is so sweet. But either way, this is a card that, again, it's not sort of embarrassing because it's going to draw you a card. It is going to fix your mana if you're trying to splash for anything, particularly in Seal. This is going to get way better than if you're in Draft.
Yeah.
And as such, that's about as playable as it gets.
Yeah. Sorry.
Meh. Mischief and Mayhem, not just one, but both. Okay. Wow, that's pretty powerful, actually.
It is. It's 2 +4/+4s, which is great.
Right.
It doesn't give trample, and it is sorcery speed, so it's just for that brute force deck when you're just trying to push through a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And they probably can't ignore that swing because that swing could be like 13 or 14 damage early in the game.
Yeah, this is what, like 8 damage essentially by itself.
On its own, yeah.
Right. So when everyone is tapping out, or when they've tapped out and you're tapping out and you're tapping out and whatever, and then you go Mischief and Mayhem, my 2 big monsters, brah, they're probably going to have to do something about those monsters.
I mean,
they can't just let you get in +8 damage plus whatever it is they had.
Yeah, there's a lot of times in Limited where you sometimes just build a deck that doesn't have a lot of finesse, and you're just trying to brute force damage through it. It just happens.
Sure.
Like sometimes
I just got dorks on a bad curve, and you're
and you just have to throw your cards on it and try to win somehow. And I feel like this card really can do that. It's just like your opponent's just after the match is just gonna be like, he Mischief and Mayhem me, and he was stumbling the entire time, but I couldn't do anything.
Right.
And
it's
it just
bad
happens.
pump spells, and I just lost. And you're like, yep, that's just how it works.
Yeah. So I think this card is very good.
Sure. I wouldn't pick it super early, but I don't think it's to be really underestimated. That's a powerful bonus for 3 mana.
It also is great for the green heroic creatures from Theros, just giving them huge bonuses, and then they attack for so much that turn.
Oh yeah, you can make some serious monsters with this card. Mortals Resolve as opposed to Immortals Resolve, or that guy who's almost dead Resolve, or whatever. It's fine. That guy who wants a sandwich Resolve. You know,
You know how awesome the Magic card, that guy that wants a sandwich Resolve? That is so, now I want a sandwich. I don't even need +1/+1.
No,
I just want a sandwich.
Just want a sandwich.
Yeah.
Future unhinged whatever card coming. Anyway, Mortals Resolve. They're getting bigger. They're getting indestructible. It's a good old-fashioned combat trick.
It is a good combat trick that can be used for a lot of different things. Like, it's the first combat trick that when you attack your 4/4 into their 5/5, you know, it gives +1/+1, but you get the indestructible. That's kind of cute.
Right.
And it's just going to protect you from, like, it's the one pump spell that also protects your guys from getting, you know, killed in some fashion.
Sure. It's also a little, I mean, I guess it's necessary in some corner cases and can come up in whatever, but it's a little silly to me to give +1/+1 an indestructible. Why don't you just give +1/+0? Like, are you really worried about its toughness at that point?
That is true.
You know, it's just a minor thing, I know. You know, and I can imagine them like, well, you know, red gives +X/+0 and white gives +X/+0, but green gives it to both halves or whatever, some silly design constraint. But either way, it's just a little silly to me thinking about it.
That is funny, yeah.
Regardless, it's, you know, it's just like those other removal spells or those other combat tricks where it's fringe, it's 22nd, 23rd, no one's going to play around it, they're going to be surprised.
I don't
by
actually
it.
think it's fringe. I think it's actually much better than that. I think it's a good pump spell. Yeah, just because it's also protects your, it's a green way to protect yourself from removal spells. They go Sip Hemlock, you're like, nope.
Nope.
Sorry, I'll take the 2 loss, that's fine.
But
But
it's a lot better than your average. It's a lot better than the +2/+0 and first strike in that regard.
you don't, I think you can, it hedges between pump spell and God's Willing in my book. So it's kind of cool in that way.
And both of those cards are good.
Yeah.
So yeah, play it with pride. Nessian Dimlock. Oh, look, I don't get what I want.
Ever. That's why he's
Ever.
so mad.
God, of course he is.
He just never gets what he wants,
I mean,
ever.
you know, what they do is they pick it up and they go, wait a minute, so he's a 6/6, or you're going to destroy this awesome thing I'm over here killing you with
Or it's a 3/3 and you destroy one of my lands.
that I don't care about, right? And you're like, okay, you know, whatever. You got your overpowered acidic slime or something, like, it's not. It's just not. And
But I do believe we filled the tank of complaining about tribute. I
we
think
did.
to save everyone at home.
Yeah. Ah, we topped off. We're all done here.
We should stop
Oh, wait a
kicking
minute.
the dead Akron horse.
Oh. Really? Mm-hmm. Really?
I had to go there.
Toot toot. We're there. Now, Nessian Wild's Ravager. This was another one of those that I pointed out as, you know, why tribute is not going to work for you and why tribute is not that great and blah, 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 blah.
But again, I like a 6/6 that fights or a 12/12. This is a good one in limited.
Yeah. He's a fine man limited. I mean, they're going to need to have a removal spell. It's just like the red guy that we were talking about. Like, he is good enough, certainly he's good enough to play, no question about it. You want to play it in limited, it's fine man. However, you know, he's not going to be the all-star because they get to choose and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Play it in limited, it's fine. It's a good card. Noble Query.
See, I have such a big issue with this card because, like, the first time I read it, I was just like, lure creatures should sacrifice themselves. You don't just have a lure creature be like, come on, buddy, you can do this.
Let's do this.
You got this. I've been here so many
this
times.
guy.
Yeah.
This one.
That one. I don't want any of this.
No, that guy. He called your mama names.
He's just like this.
You know.
This like unicorn comes up and he's just like manipulates. He's like, all right, this is what you got to do.
Yo, dog. Those unicorns are sneaky.
Also, the other awkward thing is like people, in my book, unicorns are like horses and you ride horses, but like in the flavor of this, it's just like this guy charging you with a unicorn on his back. Of course it's going to distract everyone.
And the horns all hitting you in the head and stuff. It's really a big pain in the butt. You kind of want people to block you at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, seriously though, lure effects are amazing. Lure effects lets you get through incredible board states because you bestow up one guy and then you swing with everybody and they all have to block the one guy.
Yeah, but also in some games where both players don't have a lot of permanence, bestowing on your guy that makes it bigger and then their one guy that's on top just gets eaten.
Right.
Like that's a new take on lure. Lure creatures have always been just little and tiny and they die when they attack.
Yeah.
But like when you get to bestow on anything, like the sky's the limit. It's like all of a sudden you have an 8/8 that they have to block and they're like, oh, that sucks.
Right, with everything.
Yeah.
With everything.
Yeah.
So not only is it giving it a bonus, they have to block with everything. And it can kind of come out of left field because normally what would happen with Lure, if you weren't using the enchantment version, they would have like a 4-mana 1/1, all creatures must block it or whatever. And as such, people sort of had a chance to prepare. They had a time to do so. And when you have cards like these, and there's been plenty others over the history of Magic, that sort of like sneak up on them lure-wise, it's brilliant. And this is even one of the most powerful ways.
Yeah, I think this is the most powerful Lure effect. Besides the Lure itself, I think it is even better than Lure. Well, Lure is only 3 mana, but this is a very powerful effect, and I think that this is a very high pick because of that.
Absolutely. All right, so Nyxborn Wolf, our last Nyxborn, to get its bonuses and its pluses.
I mean, the art is probably my favorite thing about this card. The art is just
brilliant.
Yeah, I love these creatures created from the god Stardust or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like that is the most intriguing part of these creatures, I think, in general, is that they're showing you in that journey to Nyx. I think a lot more things are going to start to be made by the gods or god touched or whatever it is they call it. But on its own, it's okay.
It's okay as a 3/1, and just giving 5 mana for 3/1 is fine. But like, I feel like it's such a cop out. It's like so many 2/2s from the last set with abilities, and now they're like, we'll just be 3/1.
Yeah,
and
what
1/3.
What if 3/1? Huh?
What
if it's a squire?
3/2? Yeah.
That's new.
You got to change these power and toughnesses up a little. And 3/1 is like extremely boring. I would have much rather liked this card to be a 3/2 for 3, and maybe that was too powerful. But a 3/2 for 3 and then Bestow for 5 for 3/2 would have made this card more playable. But right now, as a 3/1, I think it's a little weak.
Yeah, it probably would have been too good at 3/2. But at the same time, you could have said, maybe the Bestow was a 3 green, instead of 4 green, or whatever, There's ways that you could adjust the mana cost, I feel, to sort of justify it being a little bit better.
Well, they've never
but
really
maybe
done.
It just doesn't need to be.
They've never done that with any cards. If it costs double black in the Bestow, it costs double black on top.
Gotcha.
And they want to keep it for like the Nyx, the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx stuff.
Sure.
And they want it to be just as splashable both ways for certain decks. So, and I agree with that.
Yeah, and that's fine. And again, it's one of those like you can sort of argue that it could be better, or it could be worse, or the numbers could adjust one way.
They could have just been a 3-0, right?
Exactly.
Come on, we don't have to complain about this.
Yeah, really. You complain about that? Play it, it dies. Like that? Feel good?
New standard problems.
I mean, for God's sakes, Norn the Wary is making splashes in Modern.
Splashes is a strong word.
It won like premier events.
That's strong.
Norn the Wary. One of the cards where you were like 100% certain this is never doing anything in tournament play, and like it's starting to sell out all over. Silly stuff like that. Regardless, this card is just mediocre.
Yes.
It's not exciting. It's not the worst thing ever. You're not going to be embarrassed to play it. But if something else is kind of encroaching on your 23, this is a card that I wouldn't like lose any tears over.
I would play it if it's important for my curve.
Of course. So. Peregrination, really.
Because when we need Kodama's Reach and Cultivate
2.0, they just couldn't call it Cultivate 2.0. Bigger, harder, faster, stronger.
I mean, could they have just made another Cultivate, though? Like
Cultivation.
Well, no, I just mean Cultivate. Like, had they reprinted, I think, like, 4 mana for ramp is just so much worse. Like 3...
Of course it is. But they just want to do the silly scry stuff.
I'm sick of silly scry stuff.
I know, but they can't justify, making a strictly better Cultivate. Even at 1 green, I don't think they would make it.
Well, they could just make Cultivate.
Well, they could, but then they lose all of their shtick. And, I mean, for me, the most...
They could have called it Born of the Cultivates.
Oh, Born of the
And all the plants were made of the Stardust.
All the starry plants. Ooh. I'm just like, the most thing that's impressive to me on this card is the name.
Yes.
That's it.
I don't really see playing it.
You just don't play it because it's a little too slow. Like Cultivate was perfect in where it led or where it sat on the mana curve. And 4 mana.
Unless you're really playing a lot of colors, I think that's the only way.
Versus 3 mana going to 6. I mean, like it's a different feel, and it's worse. Theris Band Raiders.
The most expensive of the inspired Mecha Guy stuff.
Good God.
But had to make those centaurs.
Yeah, they make them centaurs, and so we have centaur makers.
For a bunch of mana.
A bunch of mana many turns from now. I hope you get there, because once you're at 6 mana, that 5/5s are probably dying. Or being double blocked or something.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you're just going to fight real hard for a centaur.
Or very easily. I mean, it's just a 5/5, and maybe sometimes like it snowballs. It's nice that this one snowballs in the late game, because when it's good, it's going to be really good.
I mean, no doubt about it. Getting the inspired trigger once is going to be big game.
Yeah, and probably you're going to continue to get inspired.
Ooh, 3/3. Ooh, 3/3. Ooh, 3/3. I'm inspired. It's good. Ferris Band Tromper, however, he's a tromp. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Not that good.
I mean, it is
not
a
even as
2/3 for
exciting
4.
as his Raider guys.
No.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is it's not as exciting.
No.
You know, whereas this guy.
I mean, the problem with this
4.
card to me is I'd much rather play the heroic guys from the last set than this guy. And sure, maybe sometimes I won't have a lot to do with heroic, so I'm going to want to play this card. But I always just like, I'm comparing it to the 2/2 for 4, that I would just much rather play with that.
And that card wasn't even very good.
You take that back.
Sorry.
I like that card.
He's a fine card. This is a card that, yeah, it's great.
What about the fight and gain life card? With that
No,
guy?
that was good.
awesome.
No, there's times when it's absolutely shown.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Ferris Band Tromper, however, just you know, it has to, for this card to be really good, you have to use a lot of tricks.
Yep.
And that's really, whenever you start to say that about a card, the warning bells start to ring. You know,
Norn the Wary.
Norn the Wary, ding, 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 ding. Raised by Wolves, awesome flavor.
Yes, this is amazing flavor, great art. It's really, really, really good art.
Swanland just kills it. Gosh, that guy's so good.
Yeah, and I do like that you get these 4 power of guys and this added bonus, but if you lose your wolves, you lose the card. So like, it makes gameplay so much more interesting, and it's going to have a lot of blowouts where an opponent doesn't realize that by losing a wolf, they're going to now lose the creature because it's going to lose a power of toughness. I just like cards like this. These are the cards that I appreciate from Wizards a lot because there's a lot going on under the surface of this.
Sure, it's super flavorful. There's layers of this thing. There's multiple guys it's giving you from this thing. Like it's going to be a high pick. You're going to love it in all of your green decks. You know,
people are going to forget that one of your other cards is a wolf. You know?
Yep. So, you know, each wolf you control, like that Nyxborn guy, you know, that was a wolf. You know, like people are going to be like, oh, right, that's 4 damage, not 3. You know, so those things are really sweet. The synergies are all there. And this is a card that gets better the more you kind of live with it and play with it and have it out on the
Live with
battlefield.
it?
You know
like
what I mean.
living with the wolves?
Like if you were raised by them?
Yes.
Hashtag
Come
clever.
on, we're almost done here.
We're almost
the
done.
tank is almost empty. Mulch guy.
Mulch dude. Oh, man.
I tried. Okay, so I'm really sad that yesterday I did a versus video with him and he was bad. And if I didn't do the versus video, I would have talked so highly about him. Yeah, so I loved Mulch.
Bullet dodged.
Yeah, I loved I loved Mulch at the time. Also, the thing about Mulch, and I think this guy's better, is because back with Deathrite Shaman, I would mulch like 3 lands, but I didn't want all of them. I wanted them for my Deathrite Shaman, and this guy gives you that ability.
Well,
And
I mean, that's sort of one way to look at it. The other way is to look at this as a worse mulch.
it's a way better mulch. It gives you a green devotion, and you find your Nykthos, and then you go off.
Damn, what you gonna do with that? When I just don't like it. I want to be able to keep all the lands. Why can't I keep all the lands? You know,
Because-
so I reveal Nykthos temple spell, and I have to put all the temples in the graveyard. And I'm like, but I like those temples. I want to play those temples later. Man, those temples be tight.
You can't have it all. You
Yes.
can't carry all those Nykthos.
Yes, you can. I play with Jace the Mind
He's just a
Sculptor.
lowly wayfinder. You can only grab one at a time.
It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
There's a land. And then he's like, all full up, sorry.
What do you want from me? I'm a cute satyr.
Yeah, he's not good. Don't play him.
What? You can play him in limited.
Don't play him in limited.
You can play him in limited.
Why would you play him in limited?
Because he's a 1/1 that you can bestow onto that can get you a land.
Eh.
You can play him in limited.
Fine, play him in limited.
Like the thing is, my green decks, I like playing 18 lands. So like 17 lands plus him is fine.
Okay, well see, that's different.
Yeah.
If you're replacing a land with that guy, that's different.
Well, it does get worse. You can't. There's obviously an amount that you can't do that for.
Well, no, I mean, you don't want to run 15 lands and 2-3 of that guy. No. I'm talking about when you're like, I'm playing 18 or I'm playing 17, and this is the guy I replaced 18 with. Now that makes sense to me. All right, Scourge of Skolavale. Skolavale? Skolavale. That's a weird, crazy picture.
Yeah,
Look at that
it's a
land.
crazy picture, and it's a crazy. I don't understand the flavor of it, so I'm just gonna ignore it because it's like you sacrifice a creature and you grow that many heads.
Right. I think that's a Hydra head with an arm sticking out of it that's holding something.
Yeah, I mean because he just ate.
Right.
They're eating a village right now.
Oh, great.
That's how they're
And those
getting
are
more
dudes.
heads.
And then
Because
there's that
they're
guy.
sacrificing all these, they're eating them, and then they get more
nice.
heads.
Okay.
But I don't understand how you grow more heads by sacrificing, eating these creatures. So
goes chomp
whatever. It's cool. It's a 2/2 for 3. That's great and limited. Plus, it can be at an instant speed, so you can chump block, sack, get bigger. Combat on the
God.
blocking side is really difficult.
If you got the Crowan conscriptors or whatever, those
Yeah.
guys
Oh.
to steal with this, and this guy eats them.
I was going to try to get that in my draft.
Oh snaps! Oh snaps! Like that's when that's the big game. I
Yeah.
think that's when it gets real gross.
Or the threaten from Theros, the something of Bident.
Sure, the 4-mana one was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Either way, any sort of threaten effect, any sort of take control effect, obviously, this guy gets insane.
Yeah.
He's going to be good otherwise, just because his ability is slow growing, but he has trample, and it's one of those like, okay, I can't attack with this guy because they have this huge toughness dude. All right, I'll just sack it to the Scourge and keep
Yep.
it bigger. Gets big real fast. Setessan Oathsworn. Good old 3-mana 1/1.
I mean, it's fine because like the other ones were 2/2s for 4, but like they curve better. The 2/2 for 4 into a 5-mana bestow is way better than this. There's not a lot of 4 bestow.
Right. Well, there's cheaper bestow in this set. I mean, you can argue that it's easier to get bestow or to have a bestow creature because things got cheaper because the bestow guys got cheaper. But it's weird on the curve.
And it's weird that its color is green in my opinion because of the fact that like it just compared to the other version, I don't know why it has to cost double green.
Right. I mean, it's one of those. Are you making Devotion better? I guess.
Yeah, but you're not letting this play like with Wingstreet Rider at all. Like now it's like really bad because you don't want to play this and Wingstreet Rider because you never want on 3 mana to have white and green spells. Like, you just never want that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to sort of choose one.
Yeah.
And I'm choosing the Wingsteed Rider.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really like that guy a lot. Setessan Starbreaker, however, she's breaking the stars.
This is going to see a lot of play. I understand that it's 4 mana for 2/1.
Oh, this guy's sick.
But yeah, it destroys all the auras.
It's almost. I mean, Flame Tongue Kavu, it ain't.
Oh my, you don't even compare.
Come on. It's going to kill something sweet. This girl is going to kill something awesome. When she enters the battlefield, if you play it right, she should always kill something awesome.
Yeah, and then there's going to be a 4 of in every single standard deck. And
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant in that regard was that she feels like a
It'll
FTK
be a great 2/1,
because she just like, pow, kill that, and then next turn I've got a threat behind.
Yes, it's very similar to Viridian Shaman in like Mirrodin blocks.
That's a better analogy. I like my Flame Tongues.
Yeah.
Because they're sweet. This card is awesome. Is a high pick, I think, for the green deck. His target aura, but that does hit bestow creatures.
Yes.
And there's so many bestow creatures now. There's going to be so many more in Journey to Nyx. Like this card is just going to keep getting better in limited.
Yes.
In limited, it's terrific. Sky Reaping, that's a killer name.
Yeah, and I like that for Devotion to Green to kill all the flyers. I think that's going to be important. I mean, I just can't wait until you get the situation where you're the green deck with this and they have the archetype, the blue archetype, and they're like, all my guys are flying.
And you're like, really? That's a thing.
Thank you.
So good. So yeah, this card goes a long way. The problem with this is that it's essentially so situational, it's almost destined to be sideboard.
Yes.
Whether or not it reaches constructed.
It's not Plummet.
Yeah.
It won't see standard
I don't
play.
see standard
There's
play
not
on this
enough
one.
flyers.
If there ever are, or if
What are
there
you
ever
going to board it
becomes,
in against Stormbreath Dragon?
Well, no, but sure. But if there's like Lingering Souls-esque type cards come back or whatever, where
Don't
there's a lot
take that back.
Hey man,
Don't even get my hopes up.
They did it once.
Don't get my hopes
They
up.
did it.
I miss
Sky,
Lingering Souls.
buddy.
It was like the only reason I won tournaments.
Snake of the Golden Grove. Oh God, this card is bad.
I got nothing.
No, this card is so bad.
I got nothing. All right, let's go. Oh God, this is even worse.
Well, at least Garrick's Companion isn't that bad. At least
Well, no,
you can
Garrett's
say-
Companion is just like a strict upgrade to this. It's like
Right.
it's like when you look at this card, I really want to say, well, when you need a fixed Garrett's Companion, but I want to meet the person that needs the first.
Yeah, who's the guy? Like, you just need a 2-mana 3/2. It's like, with so much else going on in the set, with so many different options, this is a card you play because you're super heavy green and you really needed a 2-drop.
Yep.
There's just no other reason. Unravel the Aether.
I love this card.
Yes. Now, again, I think a lot of people may be under the impression that Unravel the Aether is something that is not a removal spell.
Why?
I'm serious. That people feel that if you shuffle it back into the library, they're just going to get hosed and the guy's going to draw it back again or whatever.
Yeah.
When, realistically, statistically, this is a removal spell, and you can treat it as such.
But it also, with how much bestows in the format, you can just like shuffle in their bestow and block their guy that they thought was going to get through.
Right.
And then it was a removal spell, and even if they topped out that card, whatever.
Sure.
And I got to tell you, if my opponent's got a Thassa Unlimited, I will take anything that can get that thing off the table. Anything.
Literal anything.
Yeah.
Like that card needs to go away.
Yes.
And between the sweet plays, the sweet combat trick possibilities of getting rid of bestow creatures, between answering all of the gods and anything silly that you're having to deal with, and the statistical probability that they're going to draw it again, which is basically nominal, card is sweet.
Yes.
Card is super high pick, works great. Karametra, God of Harvests.
When I saw this card, I had no idea what to think. It was just like, so you pay 5 mana for a god, and then its ability is that you get mana after you play. So if I play this and then I play something else and I get a land, I have 8 mana on turns. Like, what is that? Like, it's just like not that good at all.
It's one of those where I guess it's for commanders, around the world. I can imagine that it probably had a better ability at one time and they just changed it. This is one of those abilities that feels like when the first idea didn't work, let's put something on there that won't break anything.
Yeah.
Like, all right, they'll go search for lands.
The first one's like, whenever you play a forest or plains, you search your library for a creature and put it into play. Wait, no, that's bad.
Oops.
Flip it. All right, we're good.
Right, and then they're like, Mirari's Wake, and they're like, wait, that's too good. Flip it. Okay, this thing won't hurt anything ever. Bye. Or whatever it was. But again, this is a card that is built for a very casual player, and as such, it kind of underwhelms as a mythic rare.
Yeah, especially when most of the Selesnya creatures in the format are token-based.
Right,
and those are the powerful ones.
And even for a commander-type player, I just don't think this is the best ability. I just don't think this is a really exciting ability for someone who was waiting to build their green-white deck, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you are.
We'll see.
Commander players, you let us know. For now, I'm going to talk about my homegirl.
Woo, go.
Because this card is awesome. So one of my favorite decks from the last format was Green-Red Devotion, but the problem with that is I didn't really like how it was set up. If you were on the defensive, your deck was really bad. It was only good on the proactive side.
Right.
And also, if you didn't hit your Nykthoses, you had this really weird green-red aggro deck. But I think Cura helps you build a green-blue devotion deck that not only when you have your Nykthoses, you have powerful draws, but when you don't, you can go like Sylvan Caryatid into Cura, take it down, and play like your Primeval Titan on turn 4 right on time. But it's even cooler when she lives for a turn, then you can tick her down and kill her and play Sylvan Primordial on turn 4.
Whoa.
And so there's just natural curves. Also, when you have a Domre deck and you're on the defensive, Domre really doesn't do anything, and it's kind of this card you're like, all right, I'll play it. But like in a deck where you have so many small creatures like Llanowells and Burning Tremissaries, or not Llanowells, Elvish Mystics and Burning Tremissaries and Sylvan Caryatids and Voyaging Satyrs, when you draw this card and they have one big threat and a couple like small guys, you can just target the big guy so it can't do anything for a turn, and you can play defense for a while and try to build up a board or get to Cyclonic Rift and then take it down. So I think this card is going to be awesome in a green-blue devotion deck. If you got premium, go over and check it out. I played it against Todd in one of our Versus videos and it was awesome. I mean, I was cackling the entire time. I was laughing more in that video than any other because my deck was awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that she is really good. She's sweet. She's the right numbers. Like, and I was sort of made this point in the show where, she could have had 3 loyalty. She could have. Mm-hmm. They could have started with 3 loyalty, and she would have been too good.
Oh, way too good.
Yeah, and then, like, she was right. These are the exact right numbers they need to be at. She's not super powerful. She's not crap. She's just good enough. She's going to lead her own archetype. She's going to be a force and standard. This, to me, is a really nice example of how good Wizards is at making Planeswalkers.
Yes, and I really like this Planeswalker. I think it's really worth it. At the beginning, I did not think it was going to see play, but I didn't think about it in green-blue devotion. I think it's home.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see multicolor devotion decks.
Yeah.
Should be sweet. Now here is her follower.
Yeah.
Both in name and after the late, little in the tank. Yada yada. We've been over this.
But
I'm sorry.
I like this card, but the only issue that I have with it is I want to BTE, man. I want a Burning Tremissary with my decks, but you can't do it with this guy. So like, I don't think this card's going to see a lot of constructed play. In Limited, it's really cool with Inspired.
Yeah, with Inspired, it helps turn that stuff on. It sort of gives another creature pseudo vigilance and all that good stuff. It's not like it's garbage. It's kind of a bear that you can kind of.
Well, in Limited, this card's a nuts.
Well, in limited, it's a card you have to fight to sort of play, and you can get a lot of play out of it, which is the sort of the funnest part of it.
But that's what the guilds are in this format, is like you get them really late, like those cards. So if you're the blue-green player already, you're not moving in for this card, but there's a good chance it tables to you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
This is a card that'll table all day long.
Yeah.
That can do a lot of surprising and cool things on the battlefield. You reap what is sown, son.
I guess I do, but I don't know. Lots of heroic.
This is all about the heroics.
Yeah, totally.
Like, this is the sickest enabler I can possibly imagine. This is what you want when you go the 2-mana, Crowan Sky Guy into the Wingsteed Rider into something, and then and they all go like, and then they just go insane and you crush everything. This is a sweet card that brings all sorts of magical Christmas land moments.
Oh yeah, this is going to be something that you set your deck up for your green-white devotion decks early, and it's going to pay off once you do it.
It's so good. It's a wonderful blowout. It's not quite the green, the
Seeds of Strength,
the travel preparations.
Oh, well, nothing is.
Travel preparations was insane, but Reap What Is Sown is very good.
Yep.
Very, very good. Astral Cornucopia. Now you realize this is our last card. This is it. This is the end of the Born of the Gods set review. We are all finished here. After those guys pop out of that cone that people normally stuff like vegetables in of mana.
In the middle of the universe.
Right. So when they step out, they just fall into the open blackness.
Yeah,
All right,
well, I'm glad at least we nailed the last card home, man. We just got through it.
Woo! People were like,
hammered it.
See, you should wait for the Astral Cornucopia, bro. That's just like the best.
It's unbelievable.
Manolith is officially passed over. Sorry,
Yes.
Manolith. You were a dude. You're a thing. Ben Blywise thinks this is going to be huge amongst casual players. I like it. It's not that I don't like it. I also appreciate the fact that Ken Nagel was able to work in another Everflowing Chalice into his set. So we got
well, I think this card is actually very good.
in Standard?
I think it could see play. Maybe not right now. Maybe not in this format.
It might need to slow down a little bit.
Well, so the thing is I want to play. There are decks now that I want to play these 3-mana. Like, of course, I'd rather be like Signets or Mind Stones or something.
Sure.
But in the format, we only have 2-mana acceleration in the non-green decks. So I kind of want to play one, and it might be this one because of the fact that when you have a lot of mana on turn 6, you could just play this into a Last Breath or something. But for the most part, it's almost always just going to be a 3-drop, and it doesn't seem like the worst one. But I do.
What's the artifact that it's 3 mana and then it taps for any color and all of your lands tap for any color?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it. Chromatic Lantern.
Chromatic Lantern. Thank you. And so Chromatic Lantern is, I think, sort of on par with Astral Cornucopia.
It's just a little bit better, probably.
Right, and then ultimately
you get to play all the Mutavaults.
Right, and Commander players would, I think, be very excited to play this card because they can pump all of their Soul Ring mana into it, all of their crazy mana they got from Karametra and all that stuff, to really get the bonus out of this card in ways that people who are just, super focused on cost, which are the spikes, super focused on mana curve and super focused on how the game progresses in these 9 turns or whatever, are just not. Like, they're not going to be able to get the value or at least the fun that this kind of card provides you. So, limited. Is it good limited?
Maybe. Depends what your deck wants. Your deck would need a 3-mana accelerator, and it probably is fine.
I mean, you should really only play it on 3. I don't imagine you waiting to 6 on this thing, and it makes any sense.
Unless you really need that hexproof guy.
Yeah. Woo! Or you're playing your monstrosity in the statue dude.
Yeah.
That guy. But anyway, that was, I think, the end of the whole set review.
No more.
There's no more cards. Wizards.
We're going to have to wait for the next set.
Wizards, there's no more cards in there. There were supposed to be more cards in there. There's not.
Was there?
No.
I didn't think so.
It's the exact right amount of cards. Either way, I've had a good time talking about Born of the Gods. Have you had a good time talking about Born of the Gods?
I've had a pretty good time talking about Born of the Gods. I'm just pretty...
We had some good times. We shared some good jokes, some crazy stories. It was fun.
I enjoyed it.
And you guys were here for the whole experience.
Well, hopefully you were. You better not have skipped some.
Yeah, we know who you are, Mr. I Skip Evans Dumb Jokes.
But loves breads.
Obviously. Anyway, that was the whole set review. I want to thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. We'll be back here in around 3 months for Journey to Nyx. You ready for that?
I am pretty ready for that.
So until then, Magic players, I'm Evan Irwin.
I'm Brad Nelson.
He is. And we tapped all the cards.
But now you can, at the pre-release, that already happened. I totally botched the end.
God!
We have to redo the whole thing.
We were redoing it. I'm Evan Irwin.
I told you we should do one take.
Shut up, Brad. I'm Evan
I'm
Irwin.
Brad Nelson.
We're tapping the cards.
So you don't have to.
Bye.